Okay, we're going to get started. This room is sponsored by Rubicon. Rubicon Project has engineered the Advertising Automation Cloud, one of the largest real-time cloud and big data computing systems. The company's mission is to automate the buying and selling of advertising by offering innovative products to connect buyers and sellers globally. For more information, visit rubiconproject.com. Would like to ask if you would like to give us feedback. We have a speaker survey. It's on the same paper that has your badge. If you fold it over, it's on the back, or it's with the map if you didn't. Okay.
From the live stream.
This talk is called Why Open Hardware. The speaker is Amber Graner, and she's going to discuss the Open Compute Project Foundation and how it applies open source software practices to hardware design to increase the pace of innovation, efficiency, and drive adoption of open source principles in the data center ecosystem. So without further ado, I give you Amber.
So talking about open hardware and why we do what we do, and all of us here have a passion for open source and have a passion for things being open and applying those freedoms and philosophies that are typically found in open source software. So imagine an organization that applies all of those things that we apply to open source software projects, but to hardware. That's Open Compute. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. And I'm the community manager there. I wear many hats, not just the community manager, but I do a little bit of the operational side of things too, and you'll see me at different events and see me running around at our events with like a chicken with my head cut off, but it's all fun and it's all about driving adoption and innovation around hardware. Typically right now we focus on the data center, so I'm going to tell you all about that. But before I tell you about what's up here and what has been accepted into the foundation, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Open Compute Foundation. So the Open Compute team. So as Lean, if you guys have ever heard of our Open Rack racks that Facebook has contributed to the project, you know, they're lean and they're vanity free. So as vanity free as our racks are, our organization is that vanity free as well. We have a CEO, his name is Corey Bell. We have an executive director, Cole Crawford. Our VP of Channel Development, who handles all of our solution providers and manufacturers, that's Steve Helvey, me, I'm the community manager. We have Will Mapp, who's our manager of strategic alliances, and Stephanie Loiza, who's our events coordinator. That is the OCP Foundation as far as the paid employees go. Our board is pretty impressive. Like, I have to say, I learn something every time I get around them. We have Frank Frykowski, who's our chairman, president chairman of our board, Andy Bechtelsheim, and I'm not going to read all their stuff, but we have Jason Taylor from Facebook, Jason Waxman from Intel, Don Duett from Goldman Sachs, we have Bill Lang from Microsoft, and we have Mark Ronig from Rackspace. And these are some smart, intelligent people that sit on our board and help us influence and drive the innovation around the Open Compute project. So why do we do it? Why do people get involved with this? So the exact same reasons as I mentioned that you do for software. The freedom of it. You want to drive innovation. You want to share. The quality of the product, a lot of times an open project, the quality on that is a lot higher than that of a proprietary closed project. The flexibility, the interoperability, the auditability, and the cost. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about how open hardware is saving Facebook and other of our members money. So it always amazes me, and I don't know about you all, but when you got involved in open source, what was the number one reason that drove you to become involved in open source? Anybody? Microsoft, believe it or not, they have contributed the OCS rack, or their OCS platform, their Open Cloud Server, and they're actually one of our most interactive members, and they actually contribute a lot to the Open Compute Foundation. So, you know, they're very good citizens in the open source space. So what about somebody else? So hang on, since you answered a question. Hold on. I'm going to just throw something at you here. Oh, sorry. I'm known for throwing things at my talks, especially if you sit forward and you answer questions and that kind of stuff. So Anyone else want to talk about why they got involved? Okay. So the equivalent of source code in hardware is the specs, it's the Gerbers, it's the mechanical layouts, it's all of that stuff. And so imagine being able to get all of that around hardware as well. Wouldn't you like to be able to get a spec and go bend metal, or get a manufacturer to go bend metal? Pretty cool, huh? And you were going to say? I'm sorry, what? The Halloween documents. That's probably before. I don't know about that. I'll have to look that up. You just taught me something, so now I've got to go look something up. That's amazing. I love it when that happens, because I like to learn. Let's see. You want to hand these out for me? That way I don't hit anybody else with stuff. And I know that the speaker guidelines, they tell you to stay in one place and not move around. I can't. Unless I'm just tethered to it, I'm gonna move around. So those are good reasons, right? Those are good reasons to get involved with a project, right? So our story. We're only 4 years old, a little over 4 years old. So while Facebook came up with this design or Facebook came up with the idea and made the first contribution, the foundation was actually incorporated by Facebook, Intel, Rackspace, Goldman Sachs, and Andy Bechtolsheim. So like I said, we're going to apply the principles and philosophies of open source software to hardware. So the industry standard is 1.9 PUE. So at Facebook, we're down, or their data centers, they're reporting of 1.07 or less. And I'm going to show you the website here in a few minutes and show you know where to go read up on that. We update it every quarter, and it's not only one data center they report on, but 3 of their data centers right now that we have information on. Power? Yeah, hold on. You just asked me this and my mind just went, hold on. Oh, you would ask me this, and now I'm like really embarrassed. It's, power, hold on. I'm now like turning 8 shades of red because I should know this off the top of my head. Power usage effectiveness, that's it. Sorry about that. So I'll get it right. There's many, I guess, definitions for that, but what we're talking about is the power usage effectiveness. Because the the hardware that Facebook now uses in their data centers lowers the amount of energy that is used in the data centers. So the projects that we govern around open hardware include the server, include storage, data center design, open rack, networking, hardware management, certification, and now HPC. We also now have a telco working group. So if you think about all the areas that are affected, by a data center, those are the areas that we govern and we have projects for. As I mentioned yesterday, if you're in my lightning talk, that I would give you something to do. Well, these 8 projects, if you're interested in any of those, server, storage, data center, how it works, the orchestration of the data center, our open racks, the networking project. Our networking project is amazing, by the way. They're all amazing, but our networking project is really taken off, and I'm going to talk about some of the contributions to that here in a minute. So let's go. So who's adopting it? Who's actually using Open Compute Gear? You have Goldman Sachs, Facebook, Riot Games, Fidelity, Microsoft, Bloomberg, Rackspace, and many others. So, people say, oh, well, how do you get it? Who's using it? You'd be surprised on where you can find Open Compute Gear. So what is this technology? We have 5 pillars of our technology. We have our racks, the power, the chassis, the PCBs, and the software. So we do have that software layer as well. Typically, when you think hardware, you don't also think the software on top of it, but we're not sticking to just bare metal. We're actually working to go up the stack as well. So the data center. Now, I have some folks from Facebook in here, so I'm going to try not to get this wrong, but we'll see how it goes. So Facebook has 4 data centers. They have one in Oregon, one in my hometown in North Carolina, one in Sweden, and one in Iowa. Now, what do they change out? When you think about how many times energy gets converted, you lose a lot of energy. It generates a lot of heat. You have to have very specialized HVAC units for your data center. So you're using a lot of energy, and you're losing a lot of the effectiveness. So what they did was they went from 480 to 208, and they used 480 to 277. They took away that huge centralized UPS system and made it 48 volts, so it's DC power. I know you're wondering, how is it DC power? We'll get to that. And then, so the results are this super, super efficient data center. So you look at the typical power in a data center, and the loss for the total loss for the servers, 21 to 27% for each server because of the energy that's being used and the conversion that happens. And then compare that with an open rack OCP server, you're only losing about 7.5%. So I'm not going to go through and read every one of these slides, but I am going to show you some of the contributions, and I'm going to tell you how we do what we do. So there's the battery cabinet. And so you can see the centralized chiller plant and the HVAC ductwork, all that's been taken away. And you'll see in this other slide that I'm going to see how they cool the data center and what they do with the heat. So this, you have your typical data center and how it's cooled, and here's the Primeville one as an example. And if you've ever been into a Facebook data center, it's really cool to see how the fans move the air and standing around them. And I'll tell a funny story. The first time I visited one, it was a Marilyn Monroe moment because I didn't realize how much air that they pulled through. I was like, first thing, don't wear heels, don't wear a dress. It was kind of funny, but it was also a learning experience to realize just how efficient those data centers are with cooling. And I'm going to make these slides available. I'm not the person to go through and actually talk about each one of these because that's not my specialty. But I figure you all would probably want to know a little bit more about it and just see the diagrams a little bit, and then we can talk offline a little bit more about that. But I can't speak for Facebook. I can only speak for the equipment that they use, but they've been kind enough to share these diagrams with us. So the benefits: 38% increase in power efficiency and 24% reduction in cost that Facebook alone has seen by switching to the OCP hardware. So rack storage and servers, check out these. So here's our timeline of contribution. So we have the Freedom server, the triplet rack, the first data centers, all back in 2011, and then we go to Windmill, Windmill in 2012, which is there on the end. And then we have Winterfell, that server is the one in the middle there, and then that happened in 2013. And then we have the Knox storage chassis here where the hard drives sit, that was contributed also in 2013. But we also have, how many of you guys heard our summit last year? We were at in January. So Microsoft gave their Open Cloud server back in January to us, and then in Paris in November they gave us the specs for the V2 of that. We also now have ONI. How many of you have heard of ONI or Open Network Linux or any of that, the switches and bare metal stuff? Seagate and Kinetix drives? No? Seagate? Yeah. Open Bridge Rack from Fidelity converts a standard 19-inch rack to an OCP 21-inch rack. So we'll take a look at some of those. So that's what an open rack looks like. You can take a look at that, and you can see these little, in the diagram here, these little handles. If you ever see the green on a rack like that, chances are it's OCP gear. Because everything's done in the front. Because you think about those open racks, that's DC power in the back, and everything is changed out in the front. You're not walking behind it. Everything is done from the front. This is the Open Bridge Rack that was contributed by Fidelity. And Brian Obenesser, who works for Fidelity, great person, smart person, worked on this for year and a half or so to get this contribution to us. The triplet rack. So that's 3 of the open racks. There's the V2, the Open Compute Server V2. Let's see. There's see in the middle, there they are. And then here we go with the storage. Unfortunately, we can't pull this one out all the way. In transit, things happen. But you can actually come up and see them. Well, here in a little bit, I'll let you come up and you can actually open these up and see how drives fit in, see how they, you can play with it. Yes? Can I have it? Can you what? Can I have it? It's broken. No. No. And I'm also going to show you all where to find the specifications on this so you can go look for them. So, yeah, I'll give you the specs. You can build one. So, the OCS, this is Microsoft's contribution to us. They have given to date the most complete specification we've ever had. Not only did they give us the source code for things and the specifications, the CAD models, the Gerber files, all of that. To talk about being open and inclusive and driving, innovation, I'm going to show you where you can go and find all of this and take a look at it for yourself. Hive has their OCP 1500 series server, Acton, Seagate, Kinetics drive, and our networking. How many of you guys are interested in networking at the data center level? Yeah, okay. So we have ONI, which is our open network install environment that Cumulus Networks has contributed to the foundation. So if you're interested in that and you want to get involved with ONI, it's oni.opencompute.org. Bare metal switching, we have Big Switch, Broadcom, Pika 8. So how many have heard of Wedge and FBOSS in the news? I know you guys have. So I can't talk about that yet because they've contributed it to the foundation. It's going through the approval process, and you guys are going to see how that works, or you all will see how that works. But it's coming soon. So on March 10th and 11th, you'll hear a lot more about that at our Open Compute Summit. And so I think it's sold out already. So if you're not already on the list to go, there will be a live stream, and you can hear all about the specs that go along with this contribution. So when you think about 1,000 servers per technician in a data center, because it's all complex and you can't have like one technician servicing more than 1,000 servers, it's a lot. You think 1,000 is a lot, right? Right? I think 1,000 is a lot. Facebook Data Center has 25,000 servers per technician because it's a simple design. They've taken away anything that doesn't need to be there and made it much more efficient, not only in the way it operates, but how you control it. Pretty cool, huh? So Facebook, as of January, when Mark Zuckerberg was at our summit, in his talk, he quoted, the quote is, that using Open Compute hardware now has saved Facebook $1.2 billion. So to me, that's a pretty good reason to switch to Open Compute hardware if you're in the data center. Microsoft reports a 40% cost saving, 15% increase in power efficiency, and 50% improvement in deployment and service times. Now that's with their OCS. That's not our Open Rack, but the OCS contribution. The OCS contribution is a standard 19-inch rack, and the Open Rack is a 21-inch rack. And I'll talk a little bit about what the difference is. Rackspace reports that their public cloud, private cloud, managed hosting of, over 100K servers. That's what they're running on. They're running OpenStack on Open Compute hardware. So think Rackspace on bare metal. So how do you get it? How do you get gear? We have what's called our solution providers, and those solution providers are AMAX, CTC, Hive, Penguin, RackWise, Stack Velocity, and Quanta. How many of you guys have heard of all of those folks? Yeah. So that's how you can get the gear. Because one of the things that people ask all the time, well, we've heard about it. Where do we get it? How can we see it? You're not going to put an open rack in your house unless you have DC power running into your house. I don't think anybody does, do you? Well, but most people don't have it into their house. So how do you get involved? Do you guys want to know how to get involved and how to submit specs and how to work with my projects and stuff? You want to know more about it? Oh, 'cause I want to tell you. So what happened, and I'm going to move to the website here in a minute. So basically a member makes a contribution. You can't make a contribution without being a member. You can be involved with the project without being a member, but to actually give us a contribution, you've got to be a member of Open Compute. And then from there, it goes to our project leads, and the project leads make sure it's got all the right information in it. And then it goes to what we have, our incubation committee. Our incubation committee reviews it. They see if everything's intact, and then we publish it to the community. The membership structure is really neat because how many of you all have been involved in an organization where people could just buy a seat? They didn't have to have merit. They didn't have to do anything. They could just buy their way into an organization. Is that good or bad? You guys think that's good or bad if somebody just gets to pay and play? So we're not a pay-to-play model. To just be an individual member, you just sign a membership agreement. To be a corporate community member, it just requires signing a membership agreement. Silver and gold, there is an opportunity to just write us a check and be a member, but platinum is our highest level membership. It requires merit. So somebody's got to give a contribution. It requires time, and it requires money. And the higher you go, the less money that you give. So you would think platinum being our highest trademark and our highest level membership would require the most amount of money. It requires the least amount of money because we want to encourage merit. We want to encourage time. We want people to give their ideas and be thought leadership. We want people to not just throw money at something and then say, well, I gave this much money, so now you've got to listen to me. We want people that's actually driving the innovation and wanting to change the way we do things in this industry. So you can't just come in and just sit there. It's like you have to do something at that level, which I think is pretty good. So we're not a pay-to-play model. I had somebody ask me the other day, so what do I need to do to get involved? And I said, I want you to go to this page, and I want you to pick a project, and then just say hi on the mailing list. And they're like, what, I don't have to be a member? And I'm like, no, you can just get involved. And I think that's a beautiful thing when you look at hardware, because typically in the hardware industry, it's all closed and people keep it so close and nobody wants to innovate with anybody else or share their ideas or, hey, I got to be in market faster than you're going to be in market. And I can't give you my secrets and you can't see what I'm doing until I'm ready to do it. We don't want that. We want open collaboration. So if you have a great idea but you're not sure if you want to sign a membership agreement or you're not sure if you want to, commit yourself with a legal document, right? But you want to get involved and you want to share your ideas, just join the mailing list. We are organized just like any other open source project. We have our IRC channels, we have our mailing list, we have our website, we have our wiki pages. All of those things, just like any other open source project has, we have those channels as well. And some people find that a little surprising because they're thinking hardware and they're not thinking the same processes that are in place for open source software we use on the hardware side. And so we're the keepers of the IP. We help channel people who want to change this area, give them a lane to pick. We have 8 projects right now that you can pick a lane and get involved and help drive the technology in those lanes. So whether it's certification, you're interested in how we certify equipment and the test harnesses that go around hardware and all of those things that you do to certify a piece of hardware, join us. If you're interested in the data center orchestration, how the data center runs, how all of this stuff is managed at any level, join that. If your passion is around motherboards or any type of hardware that goes into a rack, we have the server team and we have hardware management. If you like networking and you want to help drive that, like anything that has to do with the networking side and you want to see that more open, join that. They're writing some fantastic switches and making things happen and the testing on top of that. If that is your passion, there you go. You've got a great lane for that. If you want to design racks, I mean, there's only so many ways I think you can design a rack, but if you want to get involved with, and help design the racks and keep them current and do all that, then the Open Rack team. Let's see what we can cram in there. How dense can we get those racks? How much equipment can we, cram in those and how efficient can they be? And then on top of that, we have storage and our server community. And anybody interested in HPC? We launched HPC back in November. So you can get involved in that group and help drive that. If telcos are your thing and you want to see telcos, use open hardware or like OpenStack on open hardware, and see where that's going, then get involved with the HPC group. There's a lot of things that are happening on this side that people don't traditionally think happen around hardware. But we have any number of ways for you to get involved and participate. So I told you about the process. So the process is to submit a spec, and like maybe you see any of this stuff up here and you want to innovate on top of it. You come and look at our designs and the things that's already been submitted, and you say, you know what, I think I have a better idea and something better to fit in those racks, and I want to submit it. You can do that. You just have to be a member, and then you have to sign our contributor license agreement. That's the inbound license to us. Then you've got to pick a hardware license. We have written 2 hardware licenses. They're called the OCP-HLs. One is permissive and one is restrictive. The permissive one, think Apache 2, but for hardware. Our restrictive one, our -R, think GPL v2, but for hardware. That means if you license your contribution under that restrictive license, that means you've just effectively become the upstream. So people have to give back. So if you care about the contribution and you just don't want to throw it over the fence and who cares whatever somebody does with it, you've given it, you're whatever, then pick the permissive one. But if you care and you want to see what people are doing with your contribution, then pick the restrictive one so that people have to give back. So we're encouraging people in the hardware side of things to become good citizens in open source. And I think that, you know, for me, it's amazing to see that. Seeing the change, before I was at Open Compute, I was at Linaro, which was Linux on ARM. So seeing the change in the ARM community about becoming more open and transparent and inclusive, and the changes that happened around Linux on ARM was amazing. It was amazing to be part of that. So in every area, to see hardware companies who typically are closed become more open is a beautiful thing. And now we see it in the data center world. So we saw it in the ARM world, now we're seeing it in the data center world. And in order to be able to do that, we have to have people who are passionate about all of it. And if you're passionate about that and you want to help like drive the innovation around the data center, then I want you to get involved. I want you to, even if it's just talking to somebody in your organization and planting that seed, or maybe it's saying, I want to tour a data center and I want to see it, or I want to, you know, I want to help open up, you know, the switches, or I want, whatever it happens to be, then pick a lane and do it. Put some skin in the game. You know, I tell people, putting skin in the game there. So I want to show you guys, I want to show you all one thing here, if I can get to it. Let me find it. Because I think this is the interesting piece of it. I can talk to slides all day long, and it's kind of boring when you just talk to slides, right? And I'm not sure, I guess my ratio is set a little bit different here, but this is our Get Involved page. This is probably the most important page on our website. And it's important because it goes through our tiered membership process, how to submit a spec and design, where our community is located, how you can find any of us at any time, our summits. So that page right there is the go-to page for any, if you can't find something on that page about how to get involved, then I have not organized it well, and somebody needs to send me an email and say, fix it, because I can't find your information. I try to make it very, very inclusive for people to get involved. I want to show you how we're, a little bit more about how we're organized. See the green, this green section? These are the only people that are paid. Our board members, our incubation committee, and our project leads are all volunteers, which I think is pretty amazing when you've got a whole community at that level that's volunteering to change the industry around the data center. I don't know if you've thought much about that, but I think that's pretty impressive that we have not only these folks, but then underneath it, the communities behind these folks. And when you look at that and how you can do that, and how at any level around the data center, from the brick and mortar side of it, to how you manage it, to one card that's 1/10 of what's in that rack, you have the ability to change that. 5 years ago, did you have that ability really in hardware? Do you think you did? You didn't 10 years ago. I mean, so, I mean, you couldn't just go find a spec and, you know, it'd be open and you innovate and then you give back, and then, you know, a year or so later you see your design sitting in a data center somewhere. With our projects, you can get involved in and see your thoughts, your ideas, anything that you want to do put in motion. That doesn't mean that it's always going to get accepted, but it works just like any other open source community. You jump on the mailing list, you come to a meeting, you put your ideas out there, and then bam, you see it, this beautiful thing racked and stacked in a data center. I mean, is that not awesome? To me, that's awesome. So, I know, I get excited about this stuff. So, and then our tiered membership, like I said, I want to just show you a little bit about this because we require, if I can get it to go, we can't get it to go over there. Let's see if I can. Well, it's not going to move. I don't know why. But I want to show you something. So at this level right here, at the community level, you don't have to give 2,080 hours. But 2,080 hours for these, for these members, that's like one person full-time, working full-time, right? How many of you all in your projects that you're involved in, you have people probably giving way more than that? They have a day job and they work, and I say work, they volunteer and work on a project because they're passionate about it, right? So can you imagine all the people who are giving that amount of time to help change this world, this industry? It's pretty impressive because you don't think that people on the hardware side are that passionate like you are on the software side. But really, people geek out like all the time on this stuff. And I mean that passionately. I mean that in a good way and not in a derogatory way, because I happen to think that when I see people coming together, we have a whole group of people in Europe that are coming together to like just roll out new and inventive ideas. And they're not doing it through their companies, they're doing it through a community. So to see that happening is a wonderful thing. So I kind of talked a little too fast and went a little too fast, but I'm not the technical person. But if you have questions about the foundation and you have questions about how to get involved, or if you want to come up and see this equipment, then we can do that and I can talk you through it. So is there any questions? So go ahead. We'll go this way.
Very interesting concept that open compute has come up with. I'm wondering, are you limiting yourself to data centers only?
At this time, that's what we're focusing on. We just had in the spirit of being open and inclusive, we just had a conversation about when would we start looking at other hardware, like other hardware outside the data center. Keep in mind, there's only 5 employees, so we've got to figure out how to channel that, like how we create the community around that.
Yeah, as I see it, one of the most critical needs that the open source hardware and software communities have right now is the need for a company that is dedicated to making graphical chips that are open hardware friendly. For example, NVIDIA, in my opinion, is the best quality graphics chip there is, but they're closed, and we need someone to take their place with an open hardware stance.
Come to the hardware management folks and talk to them, and let's see what we can do. Just come suggest it on one of the mailing lists and join a online meeting. And matter of fact, I'll give you the name of our project leads, and you can suggest that. I don't know where it's going to go, but join the discussion.
I have a specific idea for where to start on such a project, and that is, I believe that someday .blend files will not be rendered, they will simply be played. And I think a graphics chip should be designed with that in mind.
Come get involved. I don't know yet. We don't have the lanes for stuff outside of the data center. That's not to say we won't. All it takes is somebody suggesting it. I'm gonna move this way across the room. So.
I have exactly similar question. Like the middleware is other markets, design all this process.
Since we have people watching remotely. Is there a microphone that one of you guys can? Because I know I have a hard time hearing folks, so.
Hello. Yeah, my question was very much similar to the gentleman over here. The question, in the server market, when you look at any SPC or any high performance server, is all processor designed by Intel or AMD. So how about their participation in open computing projects? How they are the major player? Are they gonna sometime in future join the OCP project?
We already have an AMD contribution. We have an Intel contribution. We have an ARM contribution. We already have probably close to 90 members that most of, and the ones that you named are members who do participate in Open Compute. So we already have they're already participating and becoming involved. So hop into the server group and you can talk to those folks. They're on the mailing list. So yeah, welcome that. So okay, next we're moving this way. Up here, Michael. Thank you for doing that, by the way. You can grab a T-shirt here in a second. I don't have enough for everybody, but oh, you want one of those? Okay.
Yeah. Well, they already kind of. I had the same questions pretty much.
Okay.
I mean, I know IBM, Dell. Those are the guys who make these devices that we purchased. However, what intrigued me was the 48 volt that you mentioned. So I have a data center. It's not big, but I don't have 48 volts. So who do I talk to see how the transition goes? I mean, I would have no clue how to transition my data center into 48 volt and be more efficient, right?
So join the data center group, and you can have that discussion with our project leads on the data center project group. But we typically people don't transition their whole data center, from one to the other. And the OCS contribution from Microsoft is AC. I mean, it's a standard, 19-inch rack. So it's not the 21-inch open rack. So you do have some choices.
So does this mean we'll have greater manufacturer interoperability? Like if I go out and I buy an HP blade chassis, I can't put a Dell blade in it. Is there anything in the open source hardware spec that'll change that in the future?
That is a very good question, and I don't know. Like I don't know. I haven't seen anybody try that. So, but here's what you need to do: join the server group and ask Mark Shaw. Ask Mark Shaw, and then join the certification and interoperability group, and ask YF, who's the project lead there, because those are the type of things that they're working on.
So I saw a lot of detail about individual and corporate membership sign up, but nothing about nonprofit or different kinds of organizations.
Yeah, any organization can join. Matter of fact, we're looking at like we're working with Open Power, for example. Another nonprofit group, but yeah, any organization. Nonprofits to us are considered organizations, and you can join for free. You just sign the membership agreement, and that's all you have to do. There's no cost involved. We really, I really strive very hard in our community to make sure that we are not a pay-to-play. That anybody from any organization anywhere in the world who wants to participate and help drive the change in this side of the world can do so. So.
Any other questions?
Anybody? Yeah, right over here.
I think one of your board members was Google, or belonged to, not, or related to the data center. How about open sourcing power infrastructure, so controls for solar farms?
Sure. I mean, we just haven't had anybody do it. All we need is somebody to get involved and do it. So, I mean, all it takes, all it takes is somebody getting involved and saying, let's do this. So if you own that piece of particular technology and you want to give that, then by all means. So, we're the keepers of it. We don't sell the hardware, and we make the hardware. We're the keepers of the IP, and we give people lanes to drive innovation. And somebody has to do that, right? Somebody has to be the gatekeeper, right? And so thank goodness Facebook came up with this amazing idea to open source the hardware around the data center. And then other members, the original founding members were Rackspace, Intel, Goldman Sachs, Andy Bechtolsheim, and Facebook. So thank goodness they did that, because now we have Microsoft and we have Frank Frykowski because we allow individual members. So now we have seven members on the board, and they're doing fantastic things and making fantastic contributions, and we want to see that continue. But just because they're big companies and they're the ones that kind of gave the original specs doesn't mean smaller companies can't do the same thing, or individuals. I tell you what, we have this. His name's Thomas Summers. Thomas Summers, let me get his name right. It's spelled S-H-O-M-E-R-S. He's a Rex Computing. He was just named one of Forbes 30 under 30 for energy efficient contributions into the technology space, and he is one of our HPC co-leads. He actually won our hackathon. He's one of the people that won our hackathons last year at our summit. So you don't have to be this major big corporation to make sweeping changes and have great thought, leadership, and ideas in the space. So by all means, hop in and let's help change it. Yeah.
So I have a question. If you're working in a data center on one of these OCP hardware, and you think that one of the cables is in the way and it should be moved somewhere else, so a small change to the spec, how can you submit that?
All you have to do is you can go to the project, so to the project lead. So if it's about the rack, you go to the Open Rack project. If it's about the actual server itself, you go to the server project. So whichever vertical that piece of hardware falls in, or whatever you want to make the change.
So it doesn't have to be like full specs. You can submit just small changes to what's already there.
You can go and tell the project lead. You can find the spec. They'll help you. Find in the documentation where that change needs to be made, and then together you all can decide to present it to see if it needs to be changed, or if we need a whole new spec for that change, or do we just need like Rev 3 of spec whatever, so.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Were there any other questions?
I love questions. I don't might not have all the answers, and I can tell you this, if I don't have the answer, I'm going to say I don't know, but I'm going to find out, and I'll get back to you, because your questions help me learn as well. None of us are born knowing all of this information. And when I said I would give this talk, I was a little intimidated, because I'm sitting in a room with some amazing people and brilliant minds. My passion is to give you a lane to innovate and drive change. My passion is to make sure I have a community that's open and inclusive around this. And I want to see those changes made, and I want to see this future that we have around this be an amazing one. It already is pretty cool in 4 years, but imagine where we're going to be 5 years, 10 years from now, if folks like you get involved and help drive the changes. So, any other ideas around what we're doing, or anything that you think is unique, maybe something that you've learned today that you didn't know, something that you think is pretty good, bad, ugly? Any comments? I'd love to take comments back to my teams. Nothing? Yep.
I think you're headed in a very good direction, and I'd like to see more companies get involved in this sort of thing, and I'd like to see other areas besides data centers get involved.
You can do it. I would like to see that as well. So, in all side, we're seeing that. The networking side, you'll probably see people on the networking side more than anyone start to branch out first. You'll see them reach out outside of the data center, because that affects more than just the servers. So anything else? Thank you. I think we're doing a good job too, and I think we're in the right direction. I think our model's a little bit different than most nonprofit models too. Is there anything you want to ask about Open Compute in general, or our licenses, or our membership, or how you become a member at different levels, or anything like that? Any curiosity? Anything about that? I know, so you guys want to come up and touch the hardware, right? Come on up. We'll talk. because I'm sure your questions as people talk or ask, we can.
So where's the DC power plug?
Yeah, I've got them right here. Let me just give them to you.
Is this where the DC power is?
Yep. So you guys want to do this while I do this? You can. You guys know.
We can try to answer questions. Neither of us work in the data center, but we can try to answer as many questions.
So let me explain a little bit about the racks, right? So the racks have the same the 19-inch racks and the 21-inch racks have the same outside. The physical dimensions are the same on the outside. But when you look on the inside, when you strip away everything that's not needed, and you change the design and change where the power comes in and change how everything hooks up, you can fit and change the L brackets the way they're turned. You can actually fit 21 inches in there. So it's not, you think.
4 inches more space.
Yeah.
And that really comes into play
Yep.
when you look at the sled-based
See,
designs like these guys.
Yep.
But to answer your question about the power,
You want to lay it on top of here?
It's built on a bus bar
Okay.
that comes down the back, and so all of these have this central thing that clips into the bus bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
And lay this one on top of here just to show the.
Which one? Oh,
Yes, just to show. Look, if you notice how it stacks. Can you get it? So, and then you see.
So this is a 19. Yeah.
Yep. Well, no, it fits in a. Where's this? So there's a sled that this. Why isn't this lining up? It should. That one does. Like if you lay 3 of those side by side, they'll line up. Give me that one.
So do your racks have 3 bars then for for power?
Yep, it sure does. So.
Yeah. So the idea is for this, if you have sleds like this, you'll have 3 across.
You got 3 across, and see how they line up. So everywhere you see these gaps, that's where the bus bar.
So this is actually an earlier design, so you can see it started out with like having the sort of sled idea.
That's
but
the
built
oldest
into a
one.
full width thing,
That's-
and then
yeah.
went to the individual sleds.
Yeah. This one is, I don't even think being used anymore. I just wanted it up here for, to just kind of show the evolution. This one is, and so, but if you see how they just clip in, and everything's done front of rack, because you don't really want people walking back behind where this.
It also means you do all the mains from the cold aisle and not the hot aisle.
Yeah.
It's a lot more comfortable for them.
So nobody's going to be in the hot aisle where the DC power is, right? So, even though it has a cage around it, and you're not, But check this out too. So, one of the coolest thing that I think is that these hinge designs are based like on your garage door. So So.
And these guys for short, so when these pull out running. So these
Yep.
are unlockable.
Yep, they are.
See the series of the
See?
cable come out with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
See how it unfolds?
Oh.
Unfortunately, this top one, it got damaged in transportation, and so we can't pull it out. But you can see how it uncoils.
Right.
So you don't have like all the issues with like cabling and
And also this guy
stuff.
will tilt down
Yep.
when it comes all the way out. So if it's up higher on the rack, then something.
You can just tilt it down. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
So you have that, and then like you can have like different hard drives that just fit in here, like just standard hard drives. So.
They're all clip in. They're all.
No tools. You don't need a screwdriver to change out a hard drive.
So this is a storage server.
Yep.
Is it
Well,
actually
not a server, it's just
a disk tray?
Yeah.
So it'll be supported by a server in here?
Yep.
Yeah, there's like a
Yep.
static. There goes a
Okay. Right, so it's just like a giant SATA cabinet.
Yep, pretty much.
You can see the extender board is sitting there.
Yep.
Right
Oh, right
Yep.
there.
You connect from there.
Yep.
I see, up here.
Yep.
Server.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to stand way down there if you want to come over here.
Oh yeah. Here,
Come on around here.
The processor, these ones?
Mhm.
Processor.
Well, I don't know the specific details of all these, but I promised you guys I'd show you where to find the specs, didn't I? Oh, I didn't do that. Let me show you. I'm so excited about this.
In this case, it's standard, so there's actually quite a few different models that go inside here.
So this is like a compute unit server?
Yeah.
Who makes this one?
Does the manufacturing? This is probably Quantum.
I heard some rumor that you could participate in the like Facebook buys of hardware.
So yes, so
Since they order every quarter or something?
well, we're working toward that. So we
Okay.
just revamped. We're in the process right now of revamping our solution provider program because I'll be honest. We're new. We're a lot of folks who aren't at scale like Facebook or Rackspace or folks that don't just go make their own, right?
Right.
Can't really go out and buy 1 or 2 of these. So we had to come up with a way that
That's what like the Quantas and the other ones.
we're well, it's a little bit difficult to just, if you want to just go buy one rack. So we needed to find a way that we could get our solution providers to make inventory available, right?
Okay.
So we're working with some of, like Facebook, to see if we can't work on a program where when they order their production runs, we can tack
Okay,
more.
that's not done yet.
It's not done yet.
So will you show those vendors on the page like Quanta and I forget the others. Those
Yeah.
are people that a smaller group of people can buy from already.
Well, you can buy from those, but it's still going to be hard to get one or two racks. It's it's a bulk ordering issue.
Okay.
But here, the other thing that we're working on too, and let me just poll you all that are in here, because obviously you're interested, or you wouldn't still be standing here. So, if we had like a lab, like say we have our lab at UTSA, or we also have one at E-Tree. We're looking at some other labs, academic facilities. If we had OCP racks that you could either go in and run test loads on, or see what would run on them, what you could deploy on them, or you could remote in and do those things, would that be something that interests you all? Would you find that like fascinating to be able to do that?
It'd be interesting. It has to be done in a way, ideally, that you could prove to the people that you're working with that this is useful.
Yeah. Oh,
So
that's with anything, right? You've got to prove
yeah,
that
but
it's.
I'm saying, like, there has to be ways you could go and say, like, well, I can go, these drives really are hot swappable, and my cluster isn't going to fail when I pull the drive, or something like that.
Right. So part of that idea was too to be able to have an area where we could say, so and so's coming in on Tuesday at 5, and he or she is bringing their staff in, and they want to put hands on these servers and see what they can do. That to me is an amazing benefit to offer the community. I don't know how we're going to do it yet. It's just an idea that we're But would that, if there was an ability, if there was a place for you to do that, would you find that useful?
Of course.
Because right now you're not going to be able, unless like folks that have them, you're not going to be able to go and do that. I can tell you, as part of our summit in March, that we're going to have some live demos running, and these things are pretty loud pretty impressive when you hear them power up. So we're going to have a demo in our engineering area, and I'll tell you, I actually need, and because you guys are in here, you're going to get a special offer that nobody else is going to get. I actually need, if you're in the area and you're close enough to San Jose, where you don't need a hotel room or you don't need a plane ticket or anything like that, and you want to come run cameras for me, you can sit in our engineering workshop and our summit, and you can be part of it and just sit in the back of the room and just click on cameras. Like, if the slides, you click on the slide one. If it's like the speaker talking, you just pick on this, so we can record it and live stream it. I have some volunteers, but I do need some more. So if you're interested in that, just email me at Amber@OpenCompute, and I'll get you the details, because I think it would be really cool to have people who want to help, crew things, be part of it and learn and get involved in, and actually meet the project leads, behind it all. So yeah. So well, our engineering workshop is on Monday the 9th, and then our summit is on the 10th and the 11th. So if you want to come see how the projects work, that's a good time. So the engineering workshop is about 300, 350, and then our summit is about 2,500 people. So,
Yeah, I think what's hard is obviously these hardware setups really only work for extremely large, only available to extremely large scale, instead of basically about probably 10 organizations.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
You're right.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. What's hard is then like if it was available, how would you then, like if I was working, I don't work at this kind of place, but working at like Bank of America, or more small, mid-sized place, like some Southern California health or something, how would I convince them that their workload would work on this without a lot of change to their architecture? I think that's hard. Because this is really based on either a container or a very specific distributed architecture on top. Nothing wrong with that, but
You're right, and that's one of the issues that we have Steve Helvey, our VP of Channel Development, working on to help. How do we bridge that gap? Because until we can bridge that gap, we won't be able to drive adoption, right?
Right.
So.
There is more. There is all the HPC people.
Yep. And we have the HPC group now, so.
Yeah, but you still have to architect for that kind of architecture.
And that's what they're doing. So that's the problem they're working on solving. Yeah.
But those are much easier to address. because mostly they are monolithic. It's all the same server, over and over and over and over.
Yeah. So we do have a project for that. So jump in there and, I just think it's really amazing to take all the stuff that I've learned over the years in open source software and just apply it to hardware. It's a new day. It's a new, and I'll be honest, I don't have all the answers, but I have these amazing project leads that, they wear their technical hats. We have amazing board members and incubation committee members who, are helping driving it from their level. And me, I am just making sure we got the lanes open and we can drive innovation, and that if there's a speed bump or there's an obstacle in the way that's slowing down the pace of innovation, that our community, removes that obstacle. And it's not me, it's all of you all and everyone that's already involved that's doing this.
Why does every drive need its own door?
So, because you can hot swap them.
Right, but they're all laying flat until you actually do the lower. Well, not could it just be one bar, or is all this metal to help with vibration or something?
What helps with the vibration, I think, is the plastic.
I see. So when I do this, the drive is already.
Yeah, the drive is, yeah.
Oh, so it's already in here.
Yeah, it's in here.
It's like bracketed in.
Yep.
I get it now.
Yep.
Just trying to understand.
Yeah, that's fine.
And this one keeps it down.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, huh? So, this is the first time I've given this talk, and so since you all are around here, I think I need to make it a little bit more interesting. But is there anything else that you would like to know that?
The 48 volt thing.
Okay, so you want. Okay.
Because we all work at 120.
Exactly. So you want better diagrams of. So you want better diagrams of how that actually happens, and okay.
How much change? How about you said no UPS? What am I going to do with my UPS? I have a ginormous IPC UPS.
Gotcha.
Right?
So more detail on that, okay? Anything else? I
think it'd be nice to know other slices, small slices that individuals could contribute. Like, if you look at some of the other software projects, they have help wanted tags on their GitHub pull request. So you can and they're generally lightweight stuff, you can get an entry point in.
I can tell you some of those entry points. So I didn't have that in the slide. That's excellent. Some of the entry points that I can tell you that we need some help with. Are you an amazing mailman, mailing list moderator? Are you an amazing wiki person? Do you want to help me organize my... That's right now the low-hanging fruit. But as you do that, you learn about all the other things, and then you get but the things like the help tags and stuff in Git or whatever, you really have to be involved in the project.
Yeah. Because I have scanned a little bit. You need a pretty deep understanding to get in. There's nothing wrong with that.
But that's where so at Summit, so this is going to be live streamed, and the talk is going to be not necessarily about the hardware. It's going to be community building in the hardware space, which might have been a better thing to do here. Like I said, you learn these things as you go, right? And so that is going to all be about gaining that knowledge. So anybody that's never been to an engineering workshop, we're asking them to go to OCP 101. So I can step by step walk you through all of that type of information, like stuff that if you were to sit down in maybe an engineering workshop and you hear the project leads talk and they're going through specs, you're going to say, I'm lost a little bit, right? Because you're not going to know. So OCP 101 is going to take you through that, and that's a whole other hour talk. And I mean, I could talk about. I mean, and I go into really here's here's the level of that. But I thought you guys you all might want to see the hardware, and you might want to get the big overview. Yeah.
I've been wanting to actually physically see it.
Yeah. So.
No complaints.
No, I didn't take it that way. I mean.
It's more like I thought, well, if I had 5 hours a week or 10 hours a week, what could I contribute?
That's
using my operation infrastructure coding background, what would I do?
Yeah.
And that's why I was asking about entry points,
Yeah. That's great. Any other suggestions? Because I want to modify it and I want to make it better. Oh, okay. Yeah, we haven't published our members list yet, but we will after Summit. So we do. So yeah. Okay. So break down the member list by category and by location. Have several different views of it, maybe. Like where you can click on by location, by type, by whatever kind of thing. Perfect. That works. And you know what? I think that just gives me another idea about maybe finding out which members will be open to saying, hey, we've got this person that wants to come see you. Are you open to that? And having, because just listing them there, if you just show up and say, hey, Amber gave this talk and I saw that you were a member and now I'm knocking on your door, may not be the most efficient way to do that. But let me kind of think about that a little bit more and how we can do that, because it's actually a good suggestion. I just gotta, figure out how to best promote that. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Especially on the network mailing list, and I see some of that kind of happening ad hoc.
Yep, it does. Yeah, I love the networking group. I mean, I love all of our groups, but our networking group is like, it is happening right now. So.
Do you know if there are any U.S. government puts restrictions on who IBM can sell to in terms of globally?
Mhm.
Can somebody in Nigeria buy them?
I haven't seen restrictions on anything, but no.
If there's too many processors in a space.
I don't know that. I don't know that answer, but that's a good question, and I'll figure it out.
They're made like
Yeah. I'll have
back
to.
channel, fiber optic, high transfer.
That's a really good question, and I don't know that answer.
I mean, like, if Nigeria had the factory, they could download this and manufacture it.
So
Why would the government prevent them? Well, but so why would the U.S. government stop a U.S. manufacturer earning the money?
Sometimes you just need to get ITAR approval to manufacture and sell a device.
Right, I just don't know the answer around our. I just don't know the answer around our equipment, so I'll need to find out.
That kind of stuff's not always rational, because back in the day when encryption was illegal to be exported, you could print a book with all the encryption algorithms and take it. That's not a problem. You could not.
Yeah.
I mean, GPS for the longest time was under military degradation for civilian use. And then finally they realized that, wow, people have GPS.
Yeah, can you give those out to just everybody who's like kind of stayed
In order
after?
to be within
Do you have
30
enough?
feet of a location,
Oh,
which is useful
it's
for
right here.
driving,
Yeah.
instead of, I forget what the military degradation was.
You can have that.
Okay. No, it was actually greater than that. Like 300.
Okay.
Yeah, it was huge, 300 feet. And so they took off it wasn't encryption, because they fuzzed up the data.
Yeah.
So now everyone's handsets are accurate to within 10 feet.
I didn't realize they changed that.
Yeah, that was about that was the Clinton years. That was one of his first things, because Garmin was trying to get their handhelds to be useful to their hikers.
Yeah, yeah.
And suddenly, like, I remember buying one, and like 2 months later, they changed the resolution, and I was like, whoa, I know exactly where I am. Wow.
The circle of error just shrunk to nothing.
It was early 2000s.
So yeah, there are ITAR restrictions on certain technology, and you just have to be mindful of it.
So
In the U.S.
Yeah, but
but I'm gonna ask that question because I don't know. We'll figure it out together. So.
if you get an answer, stick it on your website.
Yeah.
Not from here, and that would be really helpful if we could manufacture elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not even stop you from getting the plan.
Yeah.
Fairly elaborate manufacturing.
So
that's the problem. Like, okay, Africa doesn't have the facilities to manufacture this, but given the plans are open, can we please just buy them then?
So I didn't put it up here, but if you go to the website and on the home page it says learn more about each of the projects. There's a link in the upper right hand corner to Specs and Designs, and if you click on that link, it'll take you to the pages for that group, that like server group. It'll take you to the specs that have been given to the server group. You want your mic back, don't you?